So in this video, we're going to discuss the concept of relative and absolute cell values. And to demonstrate this, we're actually going to go ahead and calculate the total profits. So the total profits is going to be based on the total income and the total expenses. So as a general rule, profit is equal to income minus expenses. So if we want to calculate the total profit, if we have 10 guests come to our event, we'd say equals. We want the total income from the 10 guests, which is 500. And we want to take that away from our total expenses. So B10. All right, if we press enter, you'll see it gives us a negative 1500, which would represent a loss of $1,500. So obviously, for our expensive event, we've spent $2,000 on it. We want a few more than 10 people to show up and enjoy it. All right, so we can continue to calculate using a similar formula. So, in this case, it'll be B17 minus B10 for the profit for 20 guests. But previously we looked at an example where, we could easily, identify a list of things and work out the sum. All right, so there is a similar process for when we want to have similar formulas in a column or in a list. All right, so what we need to do is if we click on the cell that we've already created the formula for, you can see in the formula bar, we've created the formula. You'll see down the bottom right-hand corner of the cell, there's a little colored square. And if you hover over it, you'll notice that it changes from a white cross to a black cross, the cursor. So if we click and then drag this down, all right, you'll see it copies a bunch of numbers for us. All right, and if we have a look at it, you'll see it generates a formula. So B7 minus B11, B18 minus B12, B19 minus B13, B20 minus B14. All right, and so you might notice that some of these numbers don't seem accurate. Like if we have 50 guests, $2,500 of income minus $2,000 expenses, it's not going to equal $2,500. All right, but some of you may have identified the pattern when I looked through here. So you can see the first one, B16 and B17. So B16 matches up here, B10 matches up here. So with this one, it's correctly identified we want this number, B17, as part of our formula, but then it's minus B11. If we have a look at B11, there's nothing in cell B11. All right, so the question is, how do we get it so that this formula recognizes that, down here we want this number to change relative to the formula, but this second number, we want it to stay as B10. So this number here, we want to keep it the same for all of these formulas. And so this is where we use what's called an absolute cell reference. All right, so when we copy and paste it, copy and paste is essentially what we're doing with the black cross. What we're doing is we're identifying these relative cell values. So B16 and B10, it assumes that the formula is relative to those numbers. So if we move one down, it says, oh, we need to move both of those cells one down. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go back to cell C16. And what we're going to do is where it says B16 minus B10 in our formula bar, we're just going to click in there. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a dollar sign in between the B's and the 10. So we're going to end up with B16 minus dollar sign B, dollar sign 10. So this dollar sign is changing this reference from a relative cell reference to an absolute cell reference. Easy for you to say. Okay, so if we press enter, you'll see this number hasn't changed. It still gives us the correct amount of profit. All right, but the difference is now if we copy and paste, so click on the little black cross and drag, right? You'll see that the profit for the rest has changed. If we have a look in cell C17, for example, you'll see it's B17. So the total income has changed to the correct one, but we're still referencing cell B10. So this $2,000. Okay, so same thing with 50 guests. All right, so B18 is being referenced minus B10. So this way you can start to see that, well, the more guests we have, the more income we make. Obviously, we start making a profit after a bit. And then obviously the more guests we have after that, the more profit we continue to make, which makes sense. All right, so sorry about that, headset cut out briefly. So that's, I guess, probably the most advanced formula activity we're going to look at is using this relative and absolute cell referencing to quickly generate and create our formulas.